Hello and welcome to Last Time On. This is the podcast for people who want to watch all this prestige television, but who's got time for it?
You know I don't.
Oh yeah, boss man, we gonna do the Expanse here, Sasaki. Yeah, we get out the bigger pelota. Yeah,
This feels
boss man,
vaguely racist,
You're gonna
Vic.
have a good time, yeah. Get out on the pelota, Sasaki.
You're like Gambit combined with Jabba the Hutt. Is that
Hey everyone, I'm Victor.
I'm Xhafer,
And I am Ben.
and we're here to talk about The Expanse.
Hell yes.
Victor won. Victor picked a show. Victor picked a show that he's already seen.
Yeah.
So this season's going to operate a little differently than normal. When we do our whcihs, I don't think we'll be picking Vic as much.
No, probably not.
But when we do our Let's Get Weird with It, Vic is going to lie, or is he, and make something up. Or if the actual show is so ridiculous he thinks we won't believe it, he might try and sneak a fast one in.
You never
And
know.
he will, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then Vic will not be participating in predictions.
Mhm.
He will be muting his microphone and turning off his video feed when we do our predictions so that we cannot see any reactions or get any additional information from him.
Yeah. Now, yeah, I just wanted to say this. So if we haven't mentioned it already, we're doing The Expanse this season. And I'm so excited about this because when I first heard Last Time On, the very first episode of this podcast, this was the show I wanted you guys to do. And this season has been what? It's been almost a year and a half now that you guys have been doing Last Time On.
You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Well, and
I'm really
in
excited.
solidarity, I am not wearing pants, as I am X-Pants.
What the hell does that have to do with
Because
anything?
we're watching The Expanse.
Oh, Ben, don't ever change. Well, I have a feeling that this season we're going to pick up some new viewers because The Expanse has a very loyal and passionate fan base. So, Xhafer, why don't you give our new viewers, new listeners, give us a rundown on how LTO works.
So here at Last Time On, the show is driven by our desire to be able to sit at the water cooler. And when someone brings up a show, we can say, yeah, we've seen it. But this happens so much, especially in this era of prestige television. There's so many great, high-end, beautiful shows coming out that it's impossible to actually watch it all. So what we've done is I have written a patent-pending formula.
Actually patent pending
Formula that takes a show and condenses it down to a random number of episodes. The target is 8 is how the formula works, if you're a curious listener, where we roll sets of dice determined by the number of episodes and this formula. And we'll watch somewhere between probably 6 to 10 episodes of the entirety of the show. So we will go through, we'll watch an episode, we'll roll dice, we'll skip that many episodes, pick up at the next one. And the premise, the whole thing we're doing here is while we're reviewing that random episode we watched, we're also trying to figure out what happened last time on that show. And we play some games and try to improv our way through watching a TV show with just enough context to be able to hold that water cooler conversation. Do we get everything right?
No.
Not even close. Do we have fun doing it? I'd like to think
Absolutely.
Hell yes.
so. And that's what we do here on Last Time On.
Yeah. And this is going to be, as I've said before, this is going to be the new way people watch television in the future.
I hope so.
Yeah, with the...
I hope Netflix wants to buy my patent for a couple $1 million. That'd be great.
I mean, it's got to be. I mean, think about it. With the ever shortening attention span of each generation, that
the TikTokification.
Yeah. This is what's going to happen. You know, the after Gen Z and Gen Alpha and Gen Theta or whatever the hell comes next, their attention spans are going to be so
Beta's
tiny.
The next letter of the alphabet.
Yeah, they're going to be all just like 10 episodes. That's too long. I can't pay attention to that.
See, this just makes me think of, you know, back in the 1800s, all these people, these kids now are just listening to dance hall songs. They're only 3 minutes long. No one listens to a whole opera anymore. Nobody has the attention span for it. It's all vaudeville.
Vaudeville is the devil.
And then I cough tuberculous blood into my handkerchief and die.
That's exactly how it works.
That's exactly what happens. You know, speaking of which, I've been playing a lot of just completely off topic here. I found a website that has the old original Oregon Trail games for free online, and that's been my obsession lately. It's a lot of fun. I first started playing the like last week. I started playing the original Oregon Trail game, and I named my party members after my pets. So I had me, Victor, and I had Mocha and Daisy and Shinzan and all my dogs and my cats. But that was a little too emotional for me when they started dying of cholera and shit. I was like, Daisy, no. So the next game that I played, I named them after my podcast co-hosts. So it was a little easier to deal with.
Xhafer died of dysentery.
Yeah. Keep going.
The problem is the original Oregon Trail isn't robust enough to be like, oh, Xhafer has pinched a nerve in his back. He bitches for the next 300 miles as the wagon bumps and bumps and bumps.
Ooh, that sounds horrible.
Ow. Ben and I have done something similar with XCOM.
Yes.
Where when we've played XCOM, we've named all of our unit members after our LARP unit friends.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
Which is fun.
It's always fun when you can like take a screenshot and be like, man, you're not pulling your weight. 98% chance to hit, and you can't hit shit.
Right. Yeah. Or because some of us would have faux military rank inside the LARP unit. When you got someone promoted to their fake military rank, whenever anyone got their Toland to a major, I would always get a screenshot.
Nice.
Good times.
It's awesome. Well, speaking of which, did you guys know that this series, The Expanse, it's based on a book series?
Yeah, I've got the first 4 right next to me, actually.
Oh, wow.
I haven't read them. When my dad was ill for a while, I would buy him lots of sci-fi books to read. And that was one of the series that I was purchasing for him.
Oh, how nice.
So I've got the first 4 sitting there, which are the copies my dad had read.
That's amazing.
But I have not read them yet. I've been really meaning to, and I had lent the first one, Leviathan Wakes, out to our former podcasting partner Chris, and he had it for 2.5 years before he got it back to me. So I've only had it for about 8 months now, and I've been meaning to pick it up, but I had a feeling that we might be doing this. You had made mention of this being if you win, this is what we're doing a couple of times in the past. So I had held off from reading this book.
Awesome.
But I really want to read it, especially after watching this first episode.
Oh, yeah. And
this first episode was fantastic.
Awesome. What's great is that, you know how it's such a cliche thing to say, like, oh, well, the book series was better. This is one of the most faithful adaptations of a book series I've ever seen. And the community of The Expanse seems to feel the same way.
There's way more books than there are seasons.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. A lot of it is condensed.
10 books, and they get it down to 6 seasons.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of things you have to do when it comes to adapting a book series to a TV series that you just, you have to condense a lot of things. Okay. But the bit of trivia I wanted to drop was that the book series was actually originally based on a role-playing game that one of the authors ran in the early 2000s.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's where he got the inspiration for the story. Was he was DMing a game. I think I looked it up earlier. I believe it was based on the old school D20 system, and they played it online on a forum where it was like a post to play type thing, and that's where the original script came from. So it's like
That's cool.
yeah.
So it's
I have a lot of
basically
love for
The
this
Last Witch Hunter.
What?
The Vin Diesel
The Vin
film
Diesel movie?
that was based on his D&D campaign.
That's what that was. I never knew
Yep.
that. Oh, that's cool. That actually makes me want to go watch it now.
You're good.
So yeah, because it's written by a pen name. James S.A. Corey is two dudes, actually.
Yeah, it's Ty Frank and Daniel Abrahams, I believe, are their real names. And another piece of real quick trivia, promise will be the last one I drop before the show, is that I believe it was Daniel Abraham, might have been the other guy, I'm not sure, but I read that one of his main sources of inspiration growing up for science fiction authors was, I forgot the name of the book, but it was written in the 50s by Alfred Bester.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the character gets his name from this famous sci-fi author.
I didn't know that until I read the trivia about The Expanse. I was like, Alfred Bester?
I mean,
that time-traveling motherfucker.
James Bond was named after a bird, a guy who wrote books about birds.
Stamets is named after Paul Stamets.
That's true.
The actual fungal microbiologist, or they've got a different name. It's myceniologist or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
Shroom scientists.
Yeah, shroom scientists. I don't know.
Shroom scientists are guys you meet at the back of a club.
So we got episode 1 here, Dulcinea.
Oh, really? I thought it was Dulcinea.
Dulcinea?
Dulcinea.
Dulcinea.
But I pronounce everything wrong.
It's Spanish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it comes from Don Quixote.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I was confused last night when Xhafer put into our chat, something about Dulcinea, and I was just like, instead of saying season 1, episode 1, I'm like, why are you guys talking about Don Quixote?
Yes. I will say,
of La Mancha.
Anything that is going to make that literary reference off the cuff like this, right off the bat, I am looking for the windmills. I know there's going to be some fucking windmills that we're chasing in this shit. Something is not what it seems.
Space windmills.
Space windmills. Something is, we're going to think something is something, and it's actually something else this entire time.
Oh,
that's Don Quixote.
But also, Dulcinea is an imaginary character. She's not actually a character in Don Quixote. It is it's his sweetheart. It is his idealized lady, and because he is such a pure knight, she must be a princess. And he describes her, and she's impossibly fair and impossibly kind and impossibly, pure of heart. And this is who Don Quixote fights for. This woman who does not exist.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking this entire time watching this episode. I love it when we get a literary reference like that, because I trust that it will have a payoff. So I'm gonna be guessing at that in our predictions.
Now,
just a little spoily.
I have a feeling it feels like Xhafer liked this episode more than I did, but that's okay. Because
did you not like it? I thought this was great.
It commits it. The problem is we're going to skip, and I'm not going to find out if it. No, it's not. I'm not worried about the ending. This, if I'm reading it right, commits one of the great mortal sins of TV and movies. I think the show lied to us, and it makes me feel angry when I'm like, no, I'm watching the show. I am trying to put stuff together. And then it's not actually, here's something that recontextualizes what you've seen. It's actually, we showed you bullshit and it didn't actually happen. I hate that.
Don Quixote.
Well,
no, that's the whole point. It told you up front. That's what it's doing.
No, there's a difference between he's seeing something different and we show you a thing that didn't actually happen. Like, he is actually riding his horse towards the windmill.
No.
It's not a dragon. if Don Quixote, his horse, and the windmill weren't there, that is what makes me mad.
But you can't do that in a visual medium like you can in a literary one because of the perspective.
I'm actually
Right?
really curious to what Ben is referencing here.
So we get to it immediately after our cold open,
the opening.
or our credits. And
So we do we want to talk about the credits? The credit scene was really cool.
I mean, I'm excited about.
We get a little
actors.
bit of table setting. If you are trying to experience the Expanse through us experiencing the Expanse and not actually watching it, it's worth mentioning we get a little bit of like world building right off the top. We get a little bit of wall of text. We get a little bit of opening of Dave Lynch's Dune. The UN controls Earth. Mars is a independent militaristic colony.
Yeah.
The asteroid belt miners do all the dirty work, and they've got plenty of gold, but need air and water. And all three factions are on the verge of war, is what the opening tells us. So it seems like Earth and Mars are on the verge of war over the belt, much more so than the belt as an active combatant or participant, is the vibe that we get throughout most of the episode.
Well, we also have people who are, the belt should be free, we should be independent. If
I'm not saying that the Belters won't be involved in what seems to be the inevitable conflict. They surely will. But there's a big difference between people who have pistols and people who have aircraft.
Oh, I understand. They definitely and we get to him. The guy I called Radio Free Belter. But yeah, I don't know. I was really excited. I loved seeing Thomas Jane in the
the guy with the big dick.
Oh God, I forgot that he was in that show.
I don't know what show you're talking about.
There was a show called Hung.
Oh, yeah. I just always imagine. I remember him from one his many movie roles, but when he was Thomas Jane as Thomas Jane in Arrested Development.
Oh wow!
And he was pretending to be homeless to research for a role, and Lindsay thinks she's falling in love with this outrageously beautiful homeless man. And then finally he's like, all right, well, I've done my 2 weeks of being homeless. I'm going back. I'm shooting a movie now. I'm Thomas Jane. And she's like, wait, does that mean we can't be together anymore? And he's like, no, I'm Thomas Jane.
I'm Thomas Jane.
I would slum it with you when I'm pretending to be homeless, but now I'm Thomas Jane.
Nice.
But also, I don't know. I was really excited to see, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right because it's a Persian name, but Shore Agdashlu.
Yeah, I
get excited
she's
every
amazing.
time she shows up in something. She just shows up as a voice in the most recent Assassin's Creed games, and I'm always she just randomly pops up, and I'm like, I recognize that voice. She's got one of those voices that I'm just like, yay.
It's quite distinctive.
In the recent Ghostbusters Afterlife, she was the voice of Zool.
Ooh.
And she had exactly one line of dialogue, but it was so worth it.
Well, and
like the money spent getting her to say that one line was incredible.
Not again.
Anyway, back to the Expanse.
So we have a woman who's trapped in a compartment, some very good zero-G, and she has her last 2 drops of water before she's completely out. Manages to finally bust out of her room, floats through this empty derelict ship. There are dead bodies floating around, and makes her way to what I assume is engineering. And there's a giant blob sucking a guy into pieces before she screams and it cuts out.
Yeah. So 2 things. One, we see her grab a giant wrench.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that giant wrenches still exist in the future.
Oh, they have to, man.
Yeah.
How do you get any leverage in zero-G, though?
Well,
so I have questions about how the gravity works in this later that we will discuss.
I can't wait to have that discussion. Yes.
Because I could see it going one of kind of like 2 or 3 ways right now, and I'm curious. And I don't know that we'll actually get the explanation in the show, but we'll worry about that later.
Well, you do.
Well, I'm sure the
Just
show.
not-
I know. I'm sure the show does.
No,
I don't know that
in
we
this episode,
will.
No, in this episode, everything's there. It
Well,
explains to you how the gravity works. It's just that
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we'll get to it.
And we'll get to it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't know if this guy getting sucked into the engine was an alien or a like CGI Polar Express human.
Polar Express human.
And I just couldn't tell because I paused and he looked kind of elfy to me almost. And it's just like, I guess that's a dude, but it's like a half a second shot. And I mean, this was clearly the budget of an entire episode of SG1 in this one scene.
Nice.
So good for them. Sci-fi having the money to do this.
Right.
Yeah, it's just that the dude looked weird to me. So Ben, this is your they're lying to us moment.
So this is kind of jumping ahead. We later find that there is a distress call from this ship that this woman made.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then later when we get to the ship, she's not there and the whole thing's a trap. Which this is jumping all the way to the end. Which leads me to believe what they're actually going for here is this is supposed to prime the pump for when we hear the distress call. This is what Holden is thinking about. You know, some poor woman stuck alone on a spaceship.
Yeah.
Nobody's here. But this bit didn't happen. She's not there. She's not real.
Mm-hmm.
It is just a fake distress call to lure people out to be attacked.
So you're saying she's the Dulcinea or the Dulcinea?
Yes.
I'm fucking pronounce it. My ancestors are screaming at me from the grave.
Which
I actually disagree, Ben. I think that you're meant to think that, and that's a false flag. I think this is all real. I think this just takes place like a week or two before that distress signal. So what my theory presupposes is that she was on that ship. She did leave that distress signal, and that distress signal is powered separately because she's super wealthy, and it's something her dad gave her as like an emergency oh shit button, right? She puts on the suit. She shuts down the engine because they note that the engine was shut down through normal process. And then they say that it wasn't a missile that breached the hull, but a breaching charge, which is important because she could have put on a spacesuit, used a breaching charge to open up, and gotten out of the ship. So I think she's been gone for a week at this point or more. And all that stuff did happen. It's just the narrative timing gap that isn't explained.
But she left the transmitter going?
She didn't need it anymore. She might have thought it was dead. Remember that the signal they pick up is very faint and he has to like dig through multiple layers. And also like it's traveling through space. So who knows? It doesn't have to be I doubt they have like
it's still powered when they get there.
So remember that communications take time.
Yes, I know.
So in Star Trek, they use subspace to communicate
Right,
instantly.
that explains why everything's instant.
Where it happens not through real time. In Ender's Game, we've got the Ansible, which is quantum linked computers.
That's what I was thinking.
To each other. But those are all one way. Those are actually based in reality, interestingly enough. But we don't know how long it takes for this message to reach them. They say it's a 2-day trip to get out to this thing.
Yeah.
So it could be, old by the time that they find it.
But the transmitter is still transmitting when they get there.
Well, let's get there. So
we are jumping all the way to the end.
We got the we're on series where we get this where we get the exposition from Radio Free Belter. Yeah. And I think that this is just an excellent piece of world building right there. It's like a masterpiece. There's so many details in this opening shot with Belter Guy giving us the history of our fictional universe here. And I think it's really well done because I mean it's not committing that sin of explaining everything to the audience up front the way the original Dune did with having someone directly talking to the camera. It's like he's standing there trying to incite a riot, with all the belters, and then Thomas Jane comes in
wearing a very fine hat.
Yeah,
Love that hat.
that trilby. So yeah, we get a little bit of showing and telling here, as Radio Free Belter talks about what they have to lose.
You have nothing to lose but your chains.
Yeah.
Tom Jane is our space cop, and our Marxist reminds him that he is included in ACAP. They check out a crime scene, and we learn that he speaks space Creole.
Yes. Which is different
He's
than
wearing a
Space
trilby
Cajun.
in case it rains.
Yes, the difference is tomatoes.
We get some world building shortly after this in a bar as well, where there's someone who is freakishly tall because they grew up in zero G.
Yeah, Thomas
And
Jane
we
has
learn-
a partner that he's walking through. Here's how you
Yeah.
tell somebody's a belter. Here's all of the different side effects you get from living in space. Oh, hey, that guy's got twitches because he got the cheap medicine. You know, that guy's tall because he grew up, you know, several generations in zero G.
Yeah.
We found out.
And we learned that Tom Jane has bone spurs because he had to drink bagged milk instead of carton milk.
Now, the bone density juice that they mention here, this is something. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the plot, so it's not really a spoiler. But that's something that was invented specifically for the show, because in the books, the belters are all 7-8 feet tall at the shortest, because that's what would happen if you grew up several generations in zero gravity. So for the TV show, that's not really practical. You can't hire hundreds of extras that are all 7-8 feet tall. So that's the show's explanation for the belters being regular human size. That's the show's way of making the belters visually distinctive. They make them kind of scraggly looking. They give them a lot of facial tattoos. So that's how the audience knows that that's a belter as opposed to someone who grew up on Earth as an earther. So they made the belters look like Post Malone, basically. So,
does Mars have more or less gravity than Earth?
It's
less.
a little bit less, but not a.
A little bit less, but not
I think
a
it's
ton.
like 0.8 something.
Okay.
Whereas like the moon is about a quarter Earth's gravity, so I could finally dunk. But we see, I don't know, it feels a little bit like there's a bit of a caste system, like not all spelled out, but the more you can pass from Earth and Mars, the more likely the Earth and Mars people will deal with you, which means you get the better jobs. So I get the feeling that if Tom Jane looked like an NBA center, he wouldn't be a cop. But we see him taking a payoff from an air filter guy. And
I forgot his name, but the air filter guy is the actor who he played Death in Supernatural.
Yes.
Love that guy.
And then Tom Jane gets his mission, his marching orders. He has to find a girl.
Yeah, we get our introduction to Juliet Mao, who is the person from the freighter.
Yep.
Okay. I didn't connect that.
Yes.
Cool.
Nope, that's her.
Yeah, that's her in the opening. I wasn't going to say it.
She doesn't.
You know,
she has very different hair. I didn't see it. Okay.
Yeah, the zero G space hair.
Well,
going on
in the
is
recording, she has
hard to
short
tell.
hair.
No, it's just pulled back.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's also watching it on a cracked phone.
Yes,
which is
I love that detail.
But
yeah, even in the future, we still haven't figured out how to. You still have the cracked phones.
Yep. At this point, we cut over to the ice freighter Canterbury.
Before one thing I want to point out. Did you guys catch during the scene where they were in the brothel doing the murder investigation? It's a very brief moment, but I wrote it down. It's at 6 minutes and 55 seconds in when Thomas Jane's character pours the drink. Did you guys catch that?
no. Did
Okay,
pour slow.
Yes, in a weird way. I love it. Little details like that are just amazing. I think this show does such a great job of dropping those little things, because it's a blink and you miss it moment. But yeah, the water pours weird because that's how water would work in space with your. Yeah.
Also,
Cool.
we notice he's the kind of police officer who not collecting any evidence. He just walks on the murder weapon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, over to the Canterbury, which is a
I mean,
piece
they
of
even
crap.
say there's no laws. There's only cops.
Yes.
That was it, Ben. I just wanted to get that line in.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did.
No laws on series, kid. Only cops.
You could change scenes now if you
Okay.
like.
Yeah, so now over on the Canterbury, which is a piece of crap, we see a guy get smushed with ice.
Poor Paj.
Yeah, Raj, we see his arm just floating through the air. And then we cut to the 0G Bone Zone.
Yeah.
And
such an iconic scene.
we have two characters that are getting intimate with one another, and then we get a call that, oh no, prepare for course correction, and they get slammed into a wall in a way that would absolutely have snapped our male character's dick in half.
That is almost exactly what I've written in my notes. This would be this would be broken dick syndrome for Holden.
Yeah. He would be holding it together.
Also, did you guys watch this on Amazon?
Yes.
I assume.
Yes. Yeah.
I did not watch it on Amazon.
Oh.
I watched it on, I'm guessing it's a copy of the original airing on Sci-Fi.
Oh. Did you yar it?
So, well, here's the thing. Were there nipples? Because there were no nipples in my sex scene.
You know what?
And that was very jarring.
Yeah. It seems like they were blurred out for Sci-Fi.
Yeah. I think they were. And
they made her look like a Barbie doll. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was having sex with a hologram or something. And I don't know if that's just the CG or what was going on. It was kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to check.
Yeah.
It made me think that this wasn't a human woman for a minute. So it was jarring. Holden reassures Paj that he can help. He can't help, rather, that the XO needs to approve the fully loaded cybernetic arm that he is due.
And we have a whole talk about how on Earth there's some goo that would regrow his arm, and that Raj thinks he's been there long enough that
it's Paj.
Sorry,
with a P.
Paj thinks he's been there long enough. He's going to get a really nice robot arm, and everybody's like, "Nah, man, they're gonna the company's gonna cheap out and give you a refurbished one. No bells, no whistles. You'll just get a hook." And
he talks about how his tenure is the reason why this arm is going to be fully loaded as compared to the normal ones.
You know, not gonna lie, man. I want a robot arm.
We also find out
love
that this ship, while having a doctor, does not have a sick bay because he's doing it in the lunchroom.
Right.
Yeah. The Canterbury is in a constant state of disrepair as Holden crowbars his way into the XO's bunk. And hey, it's Jonathan Banks.
I was very excited.
I was curious if did you guys see him in your Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you skipped over him.
We saw him a few times. Awesome. Enough where I predicted that we wouldn't see him again, and we did. Nice.
And
he's
got so many fucking guns in space.
Yes. I know. He's our XO, and he's batshit crazy. He's gone space crazy. He's been in space too fucking long. And under normal circumstances, I would be screaming at the screen because what do we get in this scene? One of the things that you've heard me bitch about so many times before on pod, this guy has a bunch of paper. And why the fuck does he has all kinds of paper drawings of plants and trees and shit that he's made. Now, I have a headcanon for this. I have a whcih for this.
Okay.
Like, it makes sense to me. And again, no spoilers here because this has nothing to do with the plot. I figure the XO on an ice hauler in the future, that probably pays pretty well.
I don't feel like any of these guys are getting paid.
Say what? It doesn't look.
These guys are like, this will pay me enough that I can have a fun weekend on series and then do this again.
Right. Well, that kind of tracks with sailors. Like if you ever watch Deadliest Catch, those guys make good money, but they look like shit. You know. So the way I figure it is, this guy, being the XO, he blows all his paycheck on paper because paper would be really fucking expensive to get hold of in space.
So, Victor, what you're telling me is it's all the same, but only the names will change?
Yes.
Every day it feels we're wasting away. Yeah,
I knew that was the lyrics to a song. I just couldn't. It wasn't registering.
Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi, which is the theme song to Deadliest Catch.
Oh.
I watched a lot of Deadliest Catch.
I loved Deadliest Catch, dude. It's one of the few reality shows I could really get into. But anyway, XO here also has a bunch of potted plants with real dirt, which also would be very expensive to get a hold of in space. Like dirt and plants. Yeah. Anyway, he's gone space crazy, blows all his money on these things. That and guns.
So with Jonathan Banks now having had a very brief scene, he's getting gurneyed away, I guess, to the lunchroom. And we find out that our guy Holden is getting told, hey, you were second officer, now you're first officer. And he's like, no, I don't want to go any higher. This is fine. I'm good where I am.
He totally pulls a Riker.
Except
he's like, no,
it's not he's getting pulled from the ranks of the enlisted man. You're already second officer. You know, it's just like, hey, you're already not even like team lead. You're already like a director somewhere, and we want to make you VP. He's like, nah, I don't want to sell out and join management. It's like, you were management 2 steps ago.
He was in a comfortable position where he's, lives comfortably enough, but doesn't. He's found his happy medium in his work-life balance in space, where he has just enough responsibilities to find time to go bang the navigator once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So they get the distress call at this point. The captain wants to ignore it, tells them to delete it from their records, despite the navigator's concern. But they purge their logs and continue on to Ceres. Jim talks to the navigator about why he turned down that promotion, and among the reasons he lists their relationship. And this is when he realizes that he should have put their relationship status as it's complicated the hard way.
Yeah.
Right.
What? But we're building something here. It's like, no.
He's like, no. I loved the line where she said, like, I told you, a couple more missions, a couple more rotations, and then we're done. I'm moving on. He's like, well, couple means at least 2, right? So.
I also, at this point, I'm freaking out because it's, all right, we've got space truckers, a mysterious distress call that we really know is going to lead to bad things. This is just Alien.
Let's go with the bonus situation. We never
Can we
just talk about the bonus situation.
Sorry, can I say something?
Let's talk about the bonus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's a bit of that for sure.
The authors of this series are very big sci-fi nerds.
Oh, clearly.
So
I didn't think they accidentally redid Alien.
Right. Shit, where was I going with this? Then that's another thing. I'm glad you mentioned space truckers, because that's essentially what they are. And this is another thing with TV that it's like, okay, these are all these ice miners, space truckers. They are all way too attractive to be actually, space blue collar space people.
I mean, what? You've never been to a Buc-ee's?
Yeah, I've been to many Buc-ee's.
What? You weren't just
sorry, all the sexiness stepping out of those Peterbilt fucking semi trucks. Yeah, no, this is something they do for TV. They hire very conventionally attractive actors, and it's like, no, man, they wouldn't look like that.
One thing I did appreciate was they actually populated the ship with a lot of people, whereas Alien, you've got like 7 people on this giant ass ship.
Right, 6 including the cat.
Yeah, this made it feel a lot more like old sailing ships, where, hey, yeah, we're doing a cargo run from Bermuda to Marseille, and there's still going to be 45 people on your boat.
Right.
You can't make that travel with less than that. And so I liked there being a lot of people around, even if they're people who are just not directly impacting our story. It makes the world feel bigger and more lived in. Also, there's rats. How are there rats?
Oh, dude, rats get everywhere.
Yeah, but
man.
where are
That's
they finding
100%
food?
believable.
This is space. I feel like,
I mean, the real question is, why do they have pencils? Because that's a terrible idea in space.
they also have matchsticks.
That's
Yeah.
That's a very bad idea.
That's also very bad. And how is he allowed to have guns on the ship?
Yeah.
With an S. There's like 7 or 8 on that wall.
He's got a nice collection there. Yeah, I assume that's just rank privileges. He's the XO, so he can get those past the space TSA. Well, I mean, because it's their ship. They're in command of the ship. He can bring whatever he wants on board. I don't fucking know. I don't know how.
It also, I feel like this is the kind of situation where there's enough going on that everybody's like worried about pirates and stuff. That, hey, you got some guns.
Very true. Yeah.
Then we
we
meet. It is Christian Avasarala. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Yes, and she is being pulled away from her home after playing with her grandson, and we just see opulence. She has it. She is the first person we see who's like, I'm not worried about how they smell. Because everybody else feels like either I don't think anything smells nice on series, and I don't think Miller has showered in an Earth month.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, as they said in the opening, water is more precious than gold.
Yeah.
So you're not going to waste it taking a shower.
And then I
Only
can't
dry
imagine
shampoo.
the people on the Canterbury have many jumpsuits and are washing them very often.
Oh yeah, I've actually seen some interviews from members of the International Space Station. They say that it fucking stinks up there. Yeah. Oh, and that's actually something else that was a nice little detail that they dropped in earlier in the scene where Miller got his mission with the Captain Shadid, the police boss. She's lighting some incense in her office, and that is I feel like that's kind of an allusion to saying that her character is kind of bougie.
Oh yeah,
because in the books it's mentioned that the air smells stale and funky as hell because you're breathing in recycled air constantly. Like, man, space stinks.
It would.
So she is taken to a UN black site. Which
did you guys
in
notice
Nouveau York?
in Nouveau York? Did you guys notice the Statue of Liberty in that scene?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did.
They had to build a big what's it called?
It's like
Retaining
an
wall?
artificial island. Yeah.
Yeah, because the sea levels have risen so much that Lady Liberty would have been up to her waist in water.
Oh dang!
So they had to build a little what's it called? Retaining
Walls.
Yeah,
Seawall
around Liberty Island to to keep her dry.
Yeah, that's a patina on there, man. That green, like she is she will rust. It's a whole thing. So, yeah, no, it's cool seeing future New York. Some familiar buildings, some new ones is interesting. Cool to see. I like it when they do stuff like that where it feels grounded yet different. We see a belter being tortured at this UN black site.
Gravity torture.
Just 10 hours on the hooks.
Yeah. That's scary to think about, man, because like that's something I've thought about before, is that it's strange that Earth in our solar system is the biggest solid planet. Yeah, it's the biggest solid planet in the solar system.
Yeah.
So like, imagine how much it would suck going to colonize a planet with stronger gravity than Earth. Like you would just feel pulled down constantly. Ugh. And that's what this Belter is feeling because, you know, he grew up in space and it's literally torture.
And then we see that Christiane is not as nice as she was with her grandson, although she did implement, she did immediately go to tickle torture with him.
That would have been so good.
Leave him up for another 10 hours. If he's still alive, give me a call. And we're like, ooh, okay, so she's not a good person.
Back on Cirrus, one of those air filters that got paid off to not worry about brakes. And Miller is pretty upset about it. He's just walking around. He's just all like, look, you don't understand. This is how things work here. You know, he pays the department, so we're just going to let this slide as a bunch of people are sick.
Yep.
He paid
police
me, but he's paying everybody else. So I might as well get my beak wet because it's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Over on the Canterbury, the captain lets the crew know somebody reported the distress calls to know that now they no longer have a choice. They have to go. And we get a flip and burn.
The flip and burn!
Where the crew has to do a bunch of drugs
to
manage the high G maneuver.
I just wanted to say that in the books, this particular scene, the description of it was really intense. They said, they literally said in the books that Holden could feel his testicles flattening against his thighs during this acceleration.
Okay. Well, this I'm interested to hear how this works because so you're heading one direction and you're coming to a very quick stop, doing the hard 6, and then accelerating the other way.
Well, except no, you're not coming to a stop. You are
relative stop.
You're
are still moving this way as you flip around, and then you start just pushing the other way, which is where all the G's come from.
It's like this. If like a lot of concepts like this with the thrust gravity and everything, they tried to do this in Babylon 5, but weren't, able to because of the budget and technology limitations back then. But one of the things I love about Babylon 5 is the design of the Star Furies. It's probably one of the most realistic space fighters ever seen. And if you want to think about what it would be like, lie flat on the ground, right? Looking up at the ceiling, and just imagine yourself looking out of a view screen. Your ceiling is a view screen, and you're trying to pilot a spacecraft, but you're not really moving forward. You're moving up. So that's what it would be like. It's crazy to think about.
So this isn't a thing in Star Trek.
No,
because of inertial dampeners, which is just like
space magic.
Kind of space. Well, it makes sense. Like if you had a way to do this, that's how you do it. This isn't a thing in most societies that have artificial gravity,
right? Because
artificial gravity would be your inertial dampener. It's the same system, right? It's doing the same things with physics and gravity in space. It's just doing them a little differently that could adjust for this. So that tells me that we don't really have a ton of artificial gravity,
or it's just not strong enough to handle I forget if it was 30 or 60 G turn.
Yeah.
This makes me, I love this scene. This scene is great. It did remind me of back in the 90s, I think on the Discovery Channel, they did a special that was The Science of Star Trek. And one thing I've always remembered was this one guy being like, okay, so they have inertial dampeners. We don't know how those work. Like we have
space magic.
We have an idea of how a warp field would work. Inertial dampeners are just the sci-fi thing so that every time Captain Picard says engage, he's not committing mass murder.
Right. No one's goes
because if you just said, okay, engage warp, everybody would be goo on the back wall.
Yeah. So during the space boning scene, they were in zero gravity, and
because they were at a stop.
Exactly. Yes. And then when the thrust
this
happened,
ship is not like this. It's not like when you see the long ship, it's not layers top down. It's layers like this.
Yes.
It's long ways.
Exactly. It is
and
built.
You move up and down. And so it uses the thrust as artificial gravity.
Correct.
That was what I was piecing together because it's the only way it would work in my brain.
So
where this would be a problem, but also they had gravity.
Yeah. So the Canterbury is built. I mean, like all. I mean, okay, fine. Spoiler alert. All spaceships in the Expanse are built like this. They're built. They're not like sea ships. They're not like aircraft carriers. They're built like skyscrapers.
Yeah.
To where, most sci-fi, Star Trek, Stargate, all of them, they have artificial gravity and inertial dampeners. And that's why those spaceships are built like ocean-faring ships, whereas in reality, an actual spaceship would be built more like a skyscraper, with decks going perpendicular to the point of thrust.
That's what I had pieced together in my brain while watching the show.
Yes, you got it.
I do love this scene because I love any show where space travel is depicted as I'm throwing a dart at a target, a million kilometers away. I love that, where it's not just like, all right, and we have arrived above the surface of, Sublecticlon 8.
Drop out of warp. Right.
It's like, no, I got you within 50,000 kilometers, which is really good. Do you know how far we went?
There was some math here. Right. So they do the flip burn. Oh man, I was going to do a let's get weird with it on how gravity works, but we just explained it instead. Whoops.
Yeah, sorry. It's fine. This is what I was saying at the beginning of the pod. Like everything about how gravity works is shown to you in this episode.
Yeah.
It's just that it's our brains are wired from decades of watching sci-fi that does it differently to expect something different.
Yeah.
Like this is I hate to use this term because it's cringy, but it's hard sci-fi. It really is hard sci-fi.
Well, especially that zero G scene.
Yeah.
Holden admits as they're getting on board their shuttle, hey, it was me. I couldn't live with it because Holden had it. This is one of those things that bugs me just in TV, where he sits down and he goes into the trash in the computer and reloads the distress call, and then I have not gotten the impression that Holden is some sort of tech genius, and so it feels like, hey, all you had to do was click enhance 3 times and you could hear this woman's distress call, and everybody's just like, yeah, no, I'm not clicking 3 times. The company doesn't pay me for that. And so it felt like, why didn't you do this when you first got this? Hey, we've got a distress call.
Well, that makes sense to me.
Somebody help me, please.
That makes sense to me because they would be doing a willful ignorance type of thing. Like they don't want to inspect it any further because if they did, then they'd be on the hook to go investigate. When, as the captain said, it not only is it probably pirate bait, but we're going to lose our on time bonus. So yeah, it's kind of a, like you said, let the good God Darwin sort it out.
This is one of those things though that you brought up there, Vic. Hey, it is interstellar law that if you hear a distress call, you have to respond. But also, it is totally 100% corporate BS that, yes, you have to, but we're not factoring that into your on-time bonus.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you mean a company would make you do something so that they can justify paying you less? What? Abso Pure and Clean here, is it going to fucking
Pure and Clean
fuck them over every time?
I love the name of that. But yeah, no, that's absolutely realistic too. Yeah, I feel like humanity. And another interesting thing, it says this show takes place in the 23rd century, which is same as Star Trek. Also takes place in the 23rd century, but obviously very different.
Yeah,
I feel like this is a more realistic projection of the way humanity would evolve.
I hope not.
I know. It's like we hope for Star Trek, but we're probably going to get the Expanse.
At least that's better than Blade Runner.
Oh, I don't know, man. That's another conversation. I could dig some Blade Runner.
So Miller is kind of continuing his investigation. Mostly he's just drinking. And then he accosts a woman at a bar that it feels like he has some sort of past relationship with.
Yeah, I called her an old acquaintance ?
Feels like
Right.
an old girlfriend where he was more into it than she was. I felt like
I think
he
yeah.
asked her, like, what would you do to, piss daddy off here on series? And she was just like, bang every belcher I see. And that felt like as a slight as like, you were not important. I was just trying to make my dad mad. And he's like, but what we
Right.
had, right? And she's like, no.
For sure. No.
So this is the second guy getting his nuts stomped by a woman he thought was more invested in this episode.
Noticing a theme. We go back over to Holden and Amos as they go to check out the derelict ship. The engine is now off. There's a big hole. And this is where we get the, it's not a missile. It was a breaching charge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he says it's came from inside the ship, but given that it's kind of blown out and not blown in, that seems pretty obvious to me. So it feels like that was further lending into my this was real and this is how this happened case.
But there's nobody there. And that's
right. The ship is empty.
The ship is empty. Yeah. And that is what...
And there are no bodies.
That's what feels weird is like, okay.
And we see bodies earlier too.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Where is this woman? Was she ever actually there? We don't know.
One thing that they did mention while they were investigating the derelict, they mentioned this, but the show didn't really do a good job of showing it. I think Amos mentioned that all this stuff is still here. Mm-hmm. And in the books of the scene, they describe it as they noticed that all the expensive machinery and equipment and computers and stuff that pirates would normally take, it's all still there.
Yeah, they need to start pressing triangle and looting some of the stuff here. Which is one of the things that kind of bugged me, where it's just like they're constantly griping about how this sucks and how it's not worth their time. And I'm like, there has to be enough, like, it's a whole ass spaceship. There has to be enough stuff to make this worth your while.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe it sucks if it's like, oh, hey, they're missing, some reactor part, and now maybe the company gets paid out by their company's, insurance, but we don't benefit from it, and that sucks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If ever me in that situation, and I know we just, and I know that I just lost my bonus for this run, I'd be all just like, all right, we're looting this shit.
Like, hey, there's a space helmet floating down the ship. Yeah. All right,
that's mine. This is mine.
Like, everybody should have duffel bags. We're in 0G. I can carry as much crap as I want. At the very least, there should be like, all right, and you're also taking Doug and Benny, and their job is go to the galley and get all of the water and food.
Yeah.
So they, one thing that I noticed, and so everybody, whenever they're in 0G, is moving very, very slowly.
Yes.
And this is one of those things that it's a common trope in sci-fi. It's that when you're in 0G, you move slow.
Mm-hmm.
What it's actually is astronauts in 0G force themselves to move slowly because there's no resistance to anything. And so you'd actually be able to, like, telling your arm to move forward normally, you'd move a lot faster.
Ooh.
And so it's to prevent themselves from accidentally flailing around and like, hey, you've got one wrench here. You're fixing, something. If you don't very slowly, very deliberately go grab that wrench is gone. You will never see that wrench again. Goodbye. Right. It is going to end up in the sun or hitting an alien in the face in a million years. And so, in some of these cases, these are, people who are trained, they live in space. Hey, I know, move slowly, deliberately, methodically. So I'm not saying any of the people in this is wrong, just hey, if you ever have a character who like shouldn't know how to behave in 0G, they would actually be flailing around like a lunatic because they don't know how to control themselves. So they find the transmitter and they are afraid it's a bomb. And I'm gonna say I don't know why I don't trust Amos. I don't like him. I might just be the buzz cut and beard of the same length, where you just set a 2 on your clippers and just went everywhere
for your entire head.
But when they're just like, "Wait a minute, is that a bomb?" And he's like,
He just
I've
grabs it.
already removed it. And it's just like, you idiot. And he's like, no, it's a transmitter. It's like, yeah, but it really looked like a bomb, dude.
Yeah. I liked his it was a very logical very logical thing he did, because it's like, okay, well, if it's a bomb, we're dead anyway, so I might as well grab it.
Yeah.
You have an engineer there.
Already
Naomi
done.
could probably fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then suddenly a ship decloaks. It's the Romulans.
Yeah, it's the Martians. It's I have so many questions here.
Oh, let's hear him.
How is setting a trap that someone may or may not fall for to get the ice from? Well, I guess they're not concerned about the ice on the freighter because they just nuke.
Yes,
that
they
bitch.
do.
So that doesn't make sense. Like,
I have a theory.
what is the Martians' goal here?
Xhafer?
Why would they bother doing this?
This is actually this ties into one of my predictions. So
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I can leave well enough alone. We can talk about.
well,
it
it's not a well; it's a giant block of ice in space.
later. So
Wait, is that what that term means? Leave well enough alone, like an actual well of water?
No, I was just making a pun.
Oh, okay. Because I always thought it meant like well enough, like as in well.
Mhm.
As in-
You're right.
English
did we
is a
talk
fucking
about
weird language.
Miller beating
Anyway,
up the
yeah.
air filter guy yet?
No, we get our police brutality scene right here.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, I think that's what's next. Miller heads home, but when his neighbor's daughter is coughing because of the air filter, he realizes that he was a dick about that. So
I care now.
he goes and beats the shit out of the guy like he's not at least partially responsible for killing people.
Mhm.
Yep. Just some classic police brutality.
I mean, it's okay with some negligence as long as nobody gets hurt. But it's nice to know that at least there's a line for Thomas Jane.
yeah.
Did you notice the airlock in this scene?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you? Yeah. Another detail. When I first saw this episode, I thought it was a huge mistake. Like, why would the airlock be on the floor? But then going and rewatching it, it's explained in that opening scene we talked about. The gravity on Ceres does not work the same way gravity on Earth does. It's the only reason Ceres has gravities is from the spin. So the floor is the surface of Ceres.
Yes.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about. But yeah, if you were to look at like an X-ray picture of Ceres, you'd have the globe of Ceres, and people would be walking around on the inside because the gravity comes from spin.
It's like the inside of Babylon 5.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild to think about that the floor would be the door for the airlock. Anyway, like I said, I could nerd out about. I love the science in this show. It's so good.
We then cut back to the Canterbury, and the worst thing happens to Canterbury since Henry II. Because
They get nuked.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
They get like severely nuked too.
Yes.
they're talking about, hey,
Like,
we're not
there's,
going
like-
to worry about it. They just want the water. We're over here. We'll negotiate everything. Everything's going to be fine. Boom, gone.
It's like there's 5 or 6 of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
they fired 6 torpedoes at them. Yep.
And it's just like, okay, so if these are future nukes, the explosive yield is greater, right? So you're basically net nuking an entire like 10, 15 mile radius at minimum
Mhm.
with this many nukes, right? That's crazy.
Net nuking. I love
Oh, and also
I
just
love that term.
It's the fully automatic weapon of nuclear missiles.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's,
They nuke
it's
the shit
just,
out of it.
you don't worry about aiming. You just cover this area with enough destruction, and whatever's there is dead.
Right. I think that it's like they weren't expecting those torpedoes to be nuclear. Like, they didn't expect that at all. They thought that these were pirates that were going to try to disable the ship and ransom and all that crap. But no, they just blew the fuck out of it. They vaporized that motherfucker. And what's another thing that's really interesting is in the same scene in the books, the torpedo flight time was about 8 minutes. And it's like they described it, and it's wild to think about that in space. Like there's no cover in space. There's nothing you can do. The 8 minutes would feel like a really long time watching those torpedoes come at you, and there's literally nothing you can do about it.
which is why you need a bunch of big Gatling guns like you're the Galactica.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Take them out before they get there, 100%. All right, well, that is our episode. So I'm going to roll some dice real quick.
Yes. I can't wait. What episode are we
This
going
is
to
using
next?
the newly revamped formula that I'm patenting.
Did you update the formula?
I have updated the formula. I think I mentioned that I had done this during Shameless.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is the new updated formula that is significantly more complicated, but also significantly more accurate on the dice selected. So we're going to be rolling 3d4 for the Expanse.
All right.
And that is an 8.
Oh.
Skipping episodes 2 through 9 takes us to episode 10,
Oh.
which is the season 1 finale, Leviathan Wakes.
This is going to be exciting.
Avasarala,
Avasarala, yeah.
Avasarala uncovers a game-changing secret while the future of the human race might be in Holden and Miller's hands.
You mean that I've been here the whole time? It's time for a game changer.
It's a game changer. All right. Well, Vic,
Well, okay.
we're going to put you out this airlock.
Right. So if you notice in the studio, if you guys will look behind you here, you will notice that I have built this sound booth. And how this is going to work is I'm going to step inside, and so I won't be able to see or hear you while you're making your predictions. So I'm just gonna go in there right now. Okay. And I'm just here. And can you hear me?
This is nice.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
it's so much quieter now.
It's actually much louder.
Oh, we have to hit the mute button. Okay. There we are. Well, Ben, now that it's just us, what a clown Victor is, right? I tease because I know he'll hear it in the edit. All right, so predictions.
Lincoln, what are you doing up there?
Guessing? I guess no one's coming.
I have seen into the future.
You ruined the prophecy.
Ben. Okay, you got
I
yours
got
ready?
mine ready to go.
Okay, I got mine ready too. Daytime. There's going to be a war between Earth and Mars. I think that's pretty
for sure.
obvious.
For my daytime, I think they blew a lot of their zero-G budget here in the pilot. So I'm going to say there is less zero-G in each episode going forward. Not that there's none.
That's fair.
But we're not going to get, 4 bespoke zero-G scenes plus a zero-G bird in every episode going forward. It's going to be less of a thing.
All right, my evening prediction. That war between Earth and Mars, that's going to end before the last season. This is the windmill. I think this is the thing that we think is supposed to be something, but it's actually something else, this pending war in the background. And it's going to be replaced by something else. There's something else going on that is going to end up being more important than this war between Earth and Mars.
I agree with you, and my evening prediction aligns shockingly. So, Xhafer, what was the belter that they were gravity torturing? What was he smuggling?
We don't know, right?
We do.
Did they tell us? Oh,
he
what
had
did they say? What was
illegal
it?
stealth technology.
Ooh, that's right.
And we have an
He
illegal
did.
stealth ship.
I remember that now. Mm-hmm.
My evening theory, that wasn't Martians blowing up the Canterbury. It was Belters trying to start
Ooh.
a war between Earth and Mars.
Okay.
If
Ooh,
we can
I
get
like
Earth
that
and Mars fighting each other, then they will be looking the other way, and we can try and do Belter liberation.
Okay, I'm here for that. My primetime prediction. So for Briscoe, I said fuck it, aliens, and was wrong. And it was time travel,
Mhm.
right? This time I'm saying fuck it, time travel.
If there's aliens in this.
I mean, aliens would make more sense than time travel, probably. But fuck it, I don't care. We're doing time travel. That sounds like a more fun prediction for me.
I like it. My primetime position, my primetime prediction is someone is going to get G-forced into jelly. As we mentioned,
that's
we
totally
do
gonna
not have our inertial dampeners, and as that guy primed me to be looking out for on the Discovery Channel so many years ago, I want to see somebody just get smushed onto the back wall of a ship.
Now, to clarify, is this a we will see prediction or is a this happens prediction?
It will, I'm going to say it happens. I don't know necessarily that we see it. Like, I don't know.
That's the safer bet.
Well, I just also don't know if it's just like, oh, somebody's at gunpoint or something and, hey, hit it. And we see them like fly into a hallway, but we don't actually see the smoosh.
Oh, so you want it implied during an episode?
Oh, no, I'm
that
just
we
saying,
see?
like, I don't know. I can't guarantee with a sci-fi effects budget we will see it. So I'm just going to say
the
it
show
happens.
does go over to Amazon in season 3, I want to say, and it was their first big budget show.
I'm just going to say it happens.
I don't think we'll see it before then, but I think if we do see it, it will be after the move over to Amazon. All right. Well, we should probably unmute Victor here and bring him back out of the airlock. I mean, he might be able to help us with our goodbyes. It's okay, Vic. You're good now. We've opened the door.
Oh my god, it stinks in there. Oh god.
It was just you.
Oh, did we forget?
Me, I'm the stank.
I guess I
Story
should
of my
have
life.
not paid that guy off to not change the air filters in there. I'm sorry.
Bastard.
You know what? I see some on sale on Slick Deals right now, so I will.
Don't get those Temu air filters. Yeah. Well, moving forward in the next episode, so what I want to do is I won't tell you what predictions you got right or wrong, but I will give you your total.
Or
your point
don't
total.
give us our point total.
No, you know what? I don't want that.
You sure?
We can reverse engineer
I wasn't
that.
going to do it this episode because it would be obvious. You'd be able to figure out from the point total. But next episode, I could give you your current
No, we'll
running
find out
total.
at the end.
All right.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right,
do it at
that's
the
fair.
end. That's
Your
fine.
call.
I want to live in the mystery.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, there are a couple of scores of mine that I would like. I think the only thing that would be interesting is knowing if I got 3, because you either got the big one right or the other 2 right at that point. But I don't want to know. Don't tell me.
All right. We'll keep it. I'll keep the cat in the bag.
But what I do want you to tell me, Vic,
Oh,
is how much you appreciate Ripe for letting us use Goon Squad.
Ripe is the best, and they just like my avocados. That's how I like my music. Ripe.
Hell yeah. You can find them on Spotify. They're wrapping up their summer tour right now, but I'm sure they'll do something more soon. They seem to be very active in touring, so go check them out.
And we'd just like to say thank you to you, the listener. Join us on Facebook at the Last Time On Listener Lounge. I promise I will update it more often. It's been pretty dead in there the past few weeks. But if you like our podcast, please leave us a review. Leave us a review on iTunes or on Facebook. And if you do, we'll give you a shout out here on the show. And if you don't like our podcast, well, just keep that shit to yourself.
Why'd you listen so much?
And since Vic did both halves because he's not used to me being back here, that's fine.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I'll just say we'll see you next time on Last Time On.
Woo!